foot and they can slide into the corners. The second place rider slipped off the groove a little bit. You don't want to do that at all.
59, Vince Gelling, your leader right now.
Gelling made a nice move through these corners, and you want to stay at the very bottom of the racetrack right now. That's where they continue to ride. In the hooligan heat races, they're going to be running 8-lap qualifying heat races. Man, fast around this racetrack.
And it's fun to watch right now because we're going to watch this track develop, and this is going to play into not only the hooligan racing that we're watching now, but again, later on we get to the flat track racing. We'll be handing out medals. That will be on ESPN right now, live on Harley-Davidson Facebook.
And the rider out front actually noticed he was actually shifting the motorcycle. Oh, the second place rider just about stepped off the motorcycle. That's the 101.
Flaherty. Woo. Actually looking down, maybe
missed a gear,
maybe
kicked it into a higher gear possibly. Again, these are street legal motorcycles. They take off their lights and their blinkers, and they come out here and go racing. They're amateur riders. You can't have a pro license within the last 2 seasons.
I think that's super cool when you talk about it. So retired pros, people that have been in the industry, people that held pro licenses, they can race, but not if they've had a pro license within 2 years.
Exactly. So it's riders that, we've got bike builders out here. We've got tuners for the competitors we'll see later on tonight. And we've got just up-and-coming amateur riders that say, hey, I'm going to ride the X Games.
Right now it's Gelling, Flaherty, Hill. Those are your top 3.
We'll take the top 5 out of these to transfer into the semifinals. So you got to finish them in the top 5 spots. They're already in some lap traffic, Cam. That's the first time we've seen that. And it's already in heat race number 1. Here comes the 101 putting on a charge up the inside.
Bragging rights, but also gate choice, I'm assuming, in the semi by winning your heat.
You'd probably have a little better starting spot when you get into that semifinal. The 101's all over the racetrack. I don't know if he's having handling issues or he's just trying that hard, but he seems like he is fighting there's a little bit of a waviness on the front straightaway. Here comes the 101 up the inside. Nice move. 59 leaves the throttle a little bit longer, though, going into turn number 1.
This is your battle for the lead right here. So 59 holding it down. White flag comes out.
59 goes a little bit wide coming up for turn number 4. I think he was out there cruising around a little bit when the 101 Flaherty showed the wheel. The 59 picked up the pace a little bit. It's very hard to lead a race.
Yeah, sometimes they say it's easier to follow, and well, the lap you want to lead is the last lap, and that's what the 59 is doing right now. Bring it around to the checkers. A little bit of a warble there, a little tank slap almost.
Whew. Again, the top 5 riders will transfer on into a semifinal, and they're pulling up to the gate right now for heat race number 2. Here comes the 17 machine coming across the line right there. That is Sam Fisher. Taking a good-looking motorcycle right there. His gear matches his bike and everything. What if they did that on purpose? Oh, one of them off the motorcycle. That's the 84 machine. That is James Winkler. Winkler throwing it down right there on the last lap. He'll pick that thing up, and that's probably the worst part about it. If you fall off one of these big, heavy Harleys, you got to have some of your friends to help you pick those things up.
Right. I have a hard enough time picking up my dirt bike, to be honest with you.
I'm serious, too. Yeah, I don't even want to try to pick up one of these motorcycles. I'd have to holler at my friend and say, hey, come help me out.
It's super fun to watch, though. And you can see we're getting a little bit of a preview of what we're going to see tonight. Obviously, different bikes, different racers. In the Harley-Davidson flat track, we'll have higher speeds. And, quite a bit different, but we're seeing the undulations of the track. We're seeing the moisture, how it's coming up. Now, something they've been working on. It was really hot and sunny yesterday, so they worked the track based on that. Today, it's overcast and cool, so maybe a little bit more moisture staying in there than they expected, or it might be exactly what they were looking for.
I think it's exactly what they're looking for. It's going to make the track faster. Here's a look at the replay off the start, Cam. The 84 is on the inside, and it didn't take very long before the 59 came up the inside and took the lead back away.
Well, definitely had a solid battle between the 101 and the 89.
Yeah, 59 to Gelling. That's all right. Gelling is one of those rusty butcher riders, and they came a long ways just to race up here. All the way from California to race up here at the X Games in this amateur class. Again, street legal motorcycles. You can see not very much suspension on there, so that might not hurt them too bad on this flat track, but you definitely want to have a little bit of travel as there's a few bumps out there on this racetrack, but this is flat track here in Minneapolis.
And taking a look at the results, the top 5 will advance, as we talked about. Vince Gelling, J.J. Flaherty, Mikey Hill, Jordan Baber, and Sam Fisher. So that means, unfortunately, eliminated 6th through 9th, headed to the pits or the stands to watch the rest of the racing.
They might have the best seat in the house then.
True. So it is 4 heats. As we said, 5 will advance. And it's going to go pretty much rapid fire. And let's take a look at who is in heat number 2.
Heat race number 2, Louis Lauder on the 197. Brandon Gonzalez, 44X. Jeff Hogan is number 21. Mallory Lee, 06. Aaron Gordado, keep your eyes on this rider, 46. 51 is Brandon Holstein. Benny Carlson, former former full-time flat track racer, number 45. Dan Jacobson from Minnesota is number 44L. And Stephanie Peets is number 57. Who are you cheering for there, Cam?
Well, I'm not super familiar with too many. I know the name Benny Carlson, so I've got to go there, of course. But the 197 fired out of a cannon. Louis Lauder from Wisconsin.
That was a huge hole shot. He took off in a hurry. His bike must have some real low gearing to come off the line. We'll see if he can keep it up. He's got a big advantage already. Here comes Carlson on that XR 1200 up there into second place. That is an XR 1200. Those are pretty cool street bikes. Carlson in the 2 spot, number 45. Here comes the 44 making his way up there. That's the 44L, Dan Jacobson. I believe that is the Minnesota rider. There's 2 44s out there. There's a 44X and a 44L. It is Gonzalez up there in the 3rd spot. There's a good look at the Gonzalez right there. Again, these are all Harley-Davidson machines. You can see he still has his kickstand on his motorcycle, so he just stops. He can just throw the kickstand out and park it. Kind of goon riding a little bit right there, coming across the start-finish line.
Having a bit of fun here. We're watching, of course.
Looks like Carlson's got some streamers hanging off.
He's got a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, a little fringe.
Right.
There you go.
Something for his own style, and you can see that moisture, so you think this is going to make for a faster, more competitive track later as we get into the Harley-Davidson flat track.
Hopefully they'll start laying down some of the rubber, but it's still so wet right now that the track's not taking a lot of rubber. You can see the fastest way is definitely the shortest way around the track on the inside. So that's the premier line, but maybe later we might see some of the experts when they come out a little bit later trying that high line. If you don't want to follow the guy in front of you, you've got to go around him, or you got to come up down the end of the straightaway and take advantage and make an inside pass. Halfway flags are out for heat race number 2 of the Harley-Davidson Hooligan Racing class. Carlson's charging up there, catching up to the lead, but the 45 is on the move.
Definitely pressing a bit, but it doesn't look like there's an emergency, so to speak. As we talked about, the top 5 will transfer into the semis. A start position might be a factor, but overall, I don't think there's a big push once you're in that top 3 to stay there, qualify, move on. Don't make a mistake, because with the, I mean, it looks like a rough track, a little bit of moisture. There's a couple things that could play into a possible mistake.
Absolutely. You don't want to catch your foot in one of those bumps or one of those holes. You got to be smooth on the throttle coming over those bumps. They're starting to catch up to some lap traffic right there. Looks like the 06 machine about to go a lap down. That's Mallory Lee, one of our female competitors out here today. And she's actually holding up the leader just a little bit.
This could give us an opportunity for a battle for the lead. And you can see breaking traction, the 197.
Well, he got into the wet stuff down lower where he hasn't been running before, and he got more traction. It picked up the front end, made the front end really light as they come to the white flag.
White flag lap, what do you think? Do we see a challenge coming from Benny Carlson?
I don't know. I think he might settle in there for that 2nd spot and just be happy with a nice transfer into the semifinals. But here he comes up the inside, showing the wheel on the leader. I don't know. I think he's going to settle in for 2nd. Looks like
coming in 3 here.
Leader slips a little bit wide. He's got the door open just a second, but I don't think Benny Carlson was up there close enough, and he'll have to settle for 2nd.
Lauder, Carlson at the line. You can see a giant gap there.
There's the 3rd place riders. The 44X coming home in 3rd.
Gonzalez, then Jacobson.
Nice
thumbs up between
right
competitors.
There.
Gotta love that.
Little wheel stand right there, Benny Carlson.
And that's the idea for the hooligan racing, is fun times. Not pressing too hard, not taking a bunch of risks. Go out, do some racing, have some fun, and we'll take a look at the results here in just a second, but it looks like fun.
Absolutely. It looks like a lot of fun. I wish we could go out there and strap on.
Now, you haven't had your pro license in over 2 years.
I haven't. I could probably find a bike to ride. Let's take a look at the replay. The start, very critical. Right from the middle of the start was the 197, and what a hole shot he had. That's Lauder. Man, he shot out there, like you said, like a cannon.
There's a good look at Carlson. You talked about the fringe or the streamer, so to speak. different style.
And here's where they got into the lap traffic, and the leader had to make a move up the inside. You can see he got in the wet stuff right there, Cam, and it actually pulled the front wheel. So there is traction down there in the wet stuff. They just haven't been running down there quite that low coming off the corners because they carry the momentum up high into the racing groove. And there was the race to the finish line. 197 takes the win. Carlson will come home just a little bit short. He'll be in second, but I know he'll be a factor when we get into the semifinal, which is the next race for these guys. You don't go straight from the heat race to a main.
And Harley Hooligan results for round 1, heat 2. 5 will transfer. It's going to be Louder, Carlson, Gonzalez, Jacobson, and Guardo. And eliminated, of course, as we take a look further back, 6 through 9.
Stephanie Pease going home, Jeff Hogan, Brandon Holstein, and Mallory Lee, the rider that went 1 lap down. Those folks are already eliminated early on here at the Harley Hooligan Racing.
And of course, later on tonight, you'll be able to catch a Harley-Davidson flat track. The heroes of the sport will, of course, be with us, and we will have heats, LCQ, and the main event. We will hand out a gold medal tonight. And here is heat number 3, your start list.
All right. Number 09 is Chris Wiggins. 7 is Juan Herrero. The 19 is Patrick Garvin. Letitia Klein, number 78, she's a motorcycle journalist. The 97, Nick Hansen. 182 is Hunter Klee. 22X, one of the guys I think we should keep our eyes on, Terry Vestal. 22 is Mark Atkins. And the 666 is Justin Burhow. There we go.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Let's have a little fun as we go to heat number 3.
Wow, another XR 1200 got a good start on the outsides. The 97X, that is going to be Nick Hansen. I believe that's just the 97. Vestal's back there in the 3rd spot. I've watched him quite a bit in some vintage races. He still races the vintage motorcycles, but he hasn't had his pro license for quite a while. That is Vestal back there in the 3rd spot. He's making a bid for up the inside. New rider coming around the outside. 97 coming up there, takes over 2nd.
Chris Wiggins leading right now, actually riding pretty aggressively too. If you're watching, a little bit more on the gas than maybe we saw from a few from the other 2 heats. I mean, really charging right now.
Wiggins came here as part of the Speed Merchants team. He's all the way from Sierra Madre, California. That's on your neck of the woods. Long ways to
Hey, if they say you can ride at the X Games and have some fun, I'd say let's travel and go.
Absolutely. He's got the old style number 1, the Harley-Davidson logo on the front of his jersey. Here comes the 97 second. Terry Vestal laid down a really quick lap right there on the 27 bike. He's coming around the outside. He's actually on the 22 machine. He made a pass for 2nd place. What a nice
solid. Making that move. That's going to inspire the 97, possibly the 22 going around the outside. We talked about, can there be multiple lanes of racing? And it looks like the 22 trying to make a wider track and trying to make that move.
Well, he's the only rider that's tried the high line so far. It worked for him down there in 3-4. Now the leader blows the groove down here, so that gives the advantage now to Vestal on the 22X machine. Your new leader, Terry Vestal.
Good eyes on that for that 2nd place rider. You know, sometimes when the leader goes wide, you have a tendency to follow, right?
Right.
And good eyes to stay in the line and make that pass.
You try not to follow. You jam on the brakes. There's only rear brakes on flat track motorcycles, so you jam on the rear brakes as soon as you can, turn it down, and go underneath the rider that went too wide in front of you.
Terry Vestal with the lead right now and opening up a bit of a gap over the 09 machine, Wiggins. And still running in 3rd is Hansen.
Nick Hansen on that XR 1200. You can see the seat height is a lot higher than some of these other motorcycles. Again, street legal Harley-Davidsons that have to be newer than 1986 machines. Vestal brings him off for turn number 4. Laps are winding down. These heat races are only 8 laps the distance. So you got to get done. You got to get done in a hurry.
It's go time, and you can see breaking traction. Trying to bring it back in. Down the back straight. You can see the pro pits in the background there.
They did pit them a little separately. They kept the hooligans all on one side, the Harley flat trackers are on the other end of the racetrack.
White flag is out, last lap of racing.
2nd place rider takes a look over his shoulder, wants to make sure he's securely in the number 2 spot. He's not going to press it. He doesn't want to throw it away and possibly cost himself a better starting pick in that semifinal coming up in just a little bit.
And it's a 22X. Terry Vestal from Twin Lakes, Wisconsin. Takes the checkers. Wiggins.
Wiggins in 2nd. The 97X coming home in 3rd. That is Nick Hansen. There's the 666 taking a look over his shoulders. He crosses the finish line. There's Letitia Klein, number 78. She was 1 lap down, but she's a heck of a motorcycle journalist. I got to watch her down at the Daytona Indoor, the Clash on the Concrete earlier this year.
So 3rd mile, of course, smallest track that we'll see all year for the American Flat Track when we get to the Harley-Davidson flat track racing.
They brought in 3,600 yards of clay just to build this racetrack just for the X Games.
That's impressive.
That is
There's a lot of work that's been going on here. We're at the Mall of America, Bloomington, Minnesota, as a green flag goes up.
Clutches come out, try to keep those front wheels down as best they can. It looks like they're not even shifted until they get quite a ways down the track. There's a good look at that rider. The 09 kept his feet off the pegs. Here he comes to put his foot on the peg. His foot peg's already lifted up. He must have kicked it on the way up. He's looking to put his foot down, and that might have cost him a second or so, maybe just a skosh. Here's a battle for the second spot. Here comes the
22X coming through the pack, goes outside the 97, inside looking at the 09, but it was a lap later when the pass was actually able to happen. And 22X bringing it across for the checkers.
He's probably going to be one of our favorites right now to make it into that in the main event. So again, out of the heat races, you just qualify into a semifinal. We had 40 entrants here in this Harley Hooligan class.
And here they go, advancing to the semifinals. We talked about Terry Vestal, Chris Wiggins, Nick Hansen, Mark Atkins, and Justin Barrow. And those 5 will move on, and everybody from 6 on back will not transfer into the semifinals. Everybody looking for a spot in that main event. So cutting it down from the 40 entries you talked about, we had a couple drops here and there.
Right.
So we're going to cut it down to 20 in the semis, and we're going to cut it down to 10 to go to that main event here at Harley Hooligan Racing.
Of course, the further up you finish, the better starting spot you will have in the next one. Here comes our next heat race. This is the 4th and final heat race for the Harley Hooligan class. The 3X is Scott Jones, the 38, Jeff Rydell, 67, Jordan Haupt, 25 is Dan Lauder, 05, Dan Kickney, 42 is Rich Heverly, 911 Jason Clements, 66 Sean Gordado, and then 63 Jimmy Cyphers. Those are riders scheduled for heat race number 4 of the Harley Hooligan class.
And after we get through heat 4, watch this for the whole shot.
One of those XR 1200s, but now they're a new rider coming around the outside. Oh, they're handlebar to handlebar in turn number 1.
The 911 or 911 going way outside, going to have a hard time reeling in the traction, going to go back a couple spots, but it is the 44.
Trying to figure out who it is out front. I think it's the 42 out front. The 42's on the outside.
Right, that's the outside. And down the bottom, the 05 also trying to make the move.
This is some racing right here. These guys, they're getting after it just to get out front.
The 5 is Dave Kilkenny. And the 42, of course, Rich Heverly.
Here comes the 911 making a bit up the inside. Jason Clements up now to the 3rd spot.
Rich Heverly with the lead right now.
Leader took a look down. I don't know if he might have kicked his foot peg up like we seen earlier. You know, they're stock street bikes, so when they lean them over, those foot pegs might be dragging. It might fold the foot peg up. They have steel shoes on the left foot, so that it's really hard to feel the foot peg, period. They do have to put rubber around their foot pegs for safety. So some of these guys maybe not used to that feel.
Lap 4 of 8, we're seeing some of our best battling so far. Looks like coming from the 3rd position, the 911 had a great start, settled into 3rd, but right now making a push, Jason Clements.
He got in the corner really hard, but the 05 slowed down. The Clements actually almost hit the rear wheel of the 05 that last lap in the last corner. Again, rear brakes only, no front brakes. You can definitely tell who's used to sliding, who's not used to sliding. Oh, the 911 looked like the bike came out of gear. He reaches up with his left foot, shoves it back into gear, so that cost him a little bit of time. Harley-Davidsons. Every bike out there is a Harley-Davidson. Love the sound of those bikes going around this track.
It's sweet to just listen to layout a little bit and hear it, and then to watch the energy and the effort. Oh,
that was the guy that was leading earlier in the very start of this race. It's one of those XR 1200 bikes. Yellow flag is out. We race until we see red or checkered, ladies and gentlemen. He gets up and gets out of harm's way, so the race continues on. Still out front, the 42 machine showing the way, Rich Heverly.
Still got some competition here. The 05 taking a look. Riding the wide line through the straight, maybe taking a look to try to dive to the bottom. What do you think here now? We're talking about a little bit more fun racing. Harley Hooligan, are we going to see elbows up when we get to the main event?
I think so. I think so, because we're going to eliminate some of these riders, and the best of the best continue to move on, and they'll make for some better racing action. When it gets more important to finish further up, it's definitely going to get elbow to elbow. We're going to have some racing. There's still yellow flags being waved. I think that's for the rider earlier, but again, we race until we see a red flag or a checkered flag, so the white flag's already out last lap.
And we have lappers mixed in here on the last lap. 42 still in control, and track clearing out for him, making the moves past.
42 looks like he's got it dialed in pretty good, sliding in the corners.
Nice setup.
They're actually catching up to Gordado, who's one of these fast guys on the Harley Hooligans. These guys go all over the country, and they just about put him a lap down right there coming to the checkered flag. 42, an impressive win right there for Rich Heverly.
From Souderton, Pennsylvania, taking a look down at his bike. There's your winner, Heverly.
Again, they still have issues, though. A piece of motorcycles back there looks like a fuel cap. No big deal.
That's where the rider was down coming out of 2 there, if I'm not mistaken.
Possibly. Actually, that kind of looks like the back straightaway. So somebody is going out to pick it up, but he said, so we can't have that out there. So they're taking a look around, trying to figure out whose bike that came off of. That's a transponder, a loop. They're just checking the motorcycles, make sure they still have all their pieces. Here's a look at some of the replay actions. The start's very important. When the clutches come out, the back tires start spinning, they take off.
Everybody was so aggressive on that start. Of course, you are when it's time to go, but in the other heats, it didn't seem like we had as many competitors so aggressive, but we had some great passing, great racing. The 42 definitely running the aggressive line, going to the outside, making the move, trying to go from 3 to 1 in just one straightaway.
And he was a very hard charger, and then after he got out front, he started to pull away a little bit, and he's really sliding into the corners a lot, and that's where he's coming to the line right there to almost lap Gordado, again, who's one of these guys that run these races week in and week out. There he comes to the line. Again, that was just to lap the 66 machine right there of Gordado. Checkered flag is out. Nice slow motion of the finish line.
And we'll take a look at the results here, of course, at the Mall of America.
Rich Heverly taking the win. Dave Kilkenny will come home second. Jason Clements will settle for third. Dan Lauder is fourth, and Scott Jones fifth. A big surprise to me, Sean Gordado, all the way from California, usually runs up front. He's already headed home. Jimmy Cyphers, Jeff Rydell, and Jordan Haupt also. The riders are going home. I believe that was Jordan Haupt, the rider that went down, who had a good hole shot on the XR 1200, and man, it just wasn't his day.
40 million annual visitors to the Mall of America. 40 riders entered. We have cut it down to 20 here at the Harley Hooligans.
Don't just get to work, arrive. Introducing the new Harley-Davidson Street Rod for less than $5 a day.
Brandon Robinson from Oxford, Pennsylvania on the Harley-Davidson factory flat track racing team. You know, X Games was something I always watched as a kid, and to try and get a medal for Harley-Davidson and for myself would be, you know, a huge dream come true. You know, just to put myself with, you know, guys' names like Dave Mirra, Jamie Bestwick, Shaun White, you know, guys of those caliber, so that would just be awesome.
My family was always into racing, and you know, I learned to ride a motorcycle before I rode a bicycle, so it's just part of my life. And now I get to call it my job, so I'm pretty lucky.
Jake Johnson from Coatesville, Pennsylvania. I ride for the Harley-Davidson factory flat track team. You know, there's nothing better than going out and riding with your buddies, you know, and it's not even the riding part of it, you know, it's just kind of hanging out, telling stories and laughing, you know, that's the coolest part for me.
Welcome back to the Mall of America. Cameron Steele.
Scotty Dubler, man. 4 quick heat races. It doesn't take very long, Cam. They're about 20-second lap times. When we got into the Harley-Davidson flat track class yesterday, they got into the 19-second range. These hooligans not too far off the pace.
Well, I'll tell you, a great crowd has turned out in what looked like a little bit of threatening skies, but it has held off, and it looks nice, and I believe we'll have a great night of racing here.
Absolutely.
And, as you can see, planes landing just outside the airport here, and a good overview of the track. Scotty, what are you thinking about the track? It looks like we have a good surface for racing. A little bumpy, my analysis.
A little bit bumpy, especially in the straightaways, which it's kind of odd, but they did build this track in a parking lot just outside the Mall of America, and they brought in 3,600 yards of clay. They built the track in about less than a week, but it's a little bit wavy going on the straightaways. We watched them yesterday packing it in. It's creating for some really good racing, though. When they get into the corners, it's definitely going to be who can have the advantage coming off the corners. It's going to make for the start to be very, very important here. This first warm-up, so to speak, is the Harley-Davidson Hooligans. Before we get into the Harley-Davidson flat track tonight, the Hooligans are Harley-Davidsons that must be a modern twin from 1986 or newer, and they must be all street-legal motorcycles. No pro riders. They're all amateurs. You can't have a pro license within the past 2 seasons, so that kind of opens up the field for anybody. So, like, you or I could even get out there and race.
Probably not me.
Why not?
Well,
have you ever raced flat track?
I've never raced flat track. I've had some friends that race flat track.
You've done supercross, you do off-road trucks. Why not try some flat track?
Well, I'm kind of settled into my Baja thing right now. Supercross scared me. This scares me a little bit too. Hey, friends at home, everybody watching on the Harley-Davidson Facebook, who do you think's going to win? Who's your favorite that you've seen transfer on here from the Hooligans? Of course, we can interact a little bit with you on the Harley-Davidson flat track coming up a little bit later as well.
When we get back into the racing action, Cam, we're going to have 2 semifinals, and we'll take the top 5 riders out of the 2 semifinals into our main event. So it's the last elimination, 2 races for these guys in the Hooligans, which are amateur riders, no pro licenses. It's going to be hard for these amateurs because they just got off the racetrack, and they're going to come right back out here in just a second.
App is right there, and you've got to get it. You've got to download it. Go on, check it out. It's on.
And just outside the Mall of America, you can see there is a bit of farmland. We have the sheep not far away as we get set for a purpose-built track here at the X Games Minneapolis. And it is Harley Hooligan Racing right now, live on the Harley-Davidson Facebook page. Of course, later on tonight, we'll be live on ESPN as we take you for a ride with the Harley-Davidson flat track. And right now we have quite a few people tuning in to watch the Hooligans. And Cameron Steele, Scotty Dubler hanging out. And we are ready for the semifinals.
Here comes the start list for semifinal number 1. It's Vince Gelling, Louis Lauder, J.J. Flaherty, Benny Carlson. So those were some of the front runners in the heat races, including Mikey Hill, Brandon Gonzalez, Jordan Baber, Dan Jacobson, again, Minnesota rider, Sam Fisher, and Aaron Gordado.
And J.J. Flaherty getting a lot of love on the Facebook Live on the Harley-Davidson page. We can actually see a little bit of the people posting there as we get set. Top 5 of 10 will transfer into the main event. Direct transfer. There is no LCQ. And you talked earlier about the aggressiveness and how important that start is.
Woo! Woo! Hang on, the 101 dives in really deep, slips a little bit wide. Here comes Baber up the inside, the Iowa rider, number 72. He's got 57 on his back, 72 on the front of his number plates. He is one of my picks to win here tonight.
Flaherty had it for a moment. Now it's Jordan Baber on the 72.
Benny Carlson right there in the 3rd spot. Here comes the 59 charging up through the field up to the 4th spot. Now he looks at the high line all the way around the outside. It's Vince Gelling. Remember, he won the heat race. He's stuck back in 4th right now.
Well, being stuck in 4th is better than being 6th or worse because we talked about it. You have to be in the top 5 to transfer on, and you can see how much more aggressive it has gotten from the heat races to the semis. And now you see rider breaking traction, going to the outside, not able to hold the line.
Well, you go down the back straightaway. They said it was harder to slow down for turn number 3 for some reason than it was going into 1, but that was Gelling. Remember, he won his heat race, and he's not used to being, he hasn't had anybody in front of him all night long, and he's now got 3 guys right in front of him. He needs to settle down a little bit, stay down there on the inside of the racetrack, get that transfer spot into the main.
Let me ask you about a purpose-built track like this, Scotty. Some places you have railings, you have different markers, you have different grandstands. And, you got to set up kind of where you pick your braking mark. Is it harder somewhere like this where you don't maybe have something that's consistently giving you that braking line?
And they had not a lot of practice yesterday either. Actually, these guys got to practice earlier this afternoon, so they're more used to the racetrack as it is tonight. But the track will get faster as Baber's having a problem. He reaches down. He's reaching for his fuel to turn the fuel on or off on the side of the bike. He might be switching that over to reserve, but the leader had an issue. Reached down with his right hand, which is the throttle hand, was working on the gas tank or possibly checking the padcock on that motorcycle. But it is very hard, to find a breaking point, and that's possibly why that 3rd place rider went in too deep and drifted up the racetrack a few laps ago.
And a breakaway a bit here for first and second. Baber and Flaherty.
I like Flaherty. He's very aggressive. You know, he had a very good start. Got a little, little wild going around the bumps. He makes a move up the inside. That's going to slide Baber back to second. Remember, he had an issue just a lap ago. Now Baber grabs a handful. Woohoo!
Way to throw down.
Letting it
around the
hang
outside,
out.
trying to recontrol the front. But it is Flaherty who set up nicely, made that pass stick. Now leaving the door open on the bottom a little bit. The 72 taking a look.
But he's going to back off. He knows this isn't the main event right now. So Baber, a little bit younger rider possibly than the 101, says, I'll think about this for a minute. I might save this for the main event, but the 101 has been very aggressive all night long.
Last lap of racing here in semi number 1 of 2. 5 will advance. And Flaherty in control right now. A lot of fans online showing a lot of love to Flaherty.
He looks very strong. The 101 all the way from Wisconsin. A bunch of riders came from Wisconsin. Several riders came from California. He pulls a wheelie as it goes across the start-finish line. Looks like Baber will settle for second. And there's Benny Carlson coming home in third. Here's the race for fourth and fifth. The final 2 transfer spots. 963 and the 197 hangs on to that final spot.
Lauder, that final transfer position.
I think they were signaling each other. Was he giving his phone number, Cam? What was he doing there?
Said thumbs up. They give a little fist pump there. They're having fun. It's all camaraderie. Everybody riding Harleys having fun.
His tail section flapping around over there. It probably came loose. These guys bumping knuckles as they go down the back straightaway.
Carlson and Lauder here at Moto X. Hooligan Racing, the 2017 X Games.
The 44X having some arm pump. He's trying to shake his arms off, kind of like the motocrossers do. I mean, you wouldn't think they would have arm pump, but the track's pretty rough, and these guys are on big, heavy machines. Here's a look at the restart. 17 from the inside, had a pretty good hole shot. Watch the 101 come right through the middle, and he took over the lead. There's the backside. Woo-hoo!
Hanging on to it.
Again, not very much suspension right there, so the tail section actually broke off the bolts right there, and it was just flopping around underneath him. And here's Baber. When he was out in front, he reaches down right about here. It looks like the bike maybe started running. I guess maybe that's on the next lap, but he had mechanical issues, reaches down to the side of that gas tank. It was all right, though. He'll settle in for that 2 spot. He'll put himself into today's main event in the Harley-Davidson Hooligan class. Man, good racing. It's getting a little bit more action as we get into the semifinals.
It's flaring up a little bit.
I like it.
Especially if you're Flaherty.
Flaherty taking home the win.
At the semifinal, advancing JJ Flaherty. A lot of fans online. Harley-Davidson Facebook chanting Flaherty's name. Jordan Baber, Benny Carlson, Mikey Hill, Louis Lauder. Those are your top 5. Unfortunately eliminated Sam Fisher, Dan Jacobson, Brandon Gonzalez, Vince Gelling, and Aaron Garrado. And I'm not sure that I'm saying that correct.
Gordado.
Thank you, Gardado.
Yeah, Gardado.
Sorry, Gardado.
Yeah, that's all right. These guys, those are fast. So both of them have already been eliminated. The 2 Gardado brothers came out of California. They're already done for the evening. They're from Long Beach, California, and they are the founders of the Suicide Machine Co.
And watching some of the feed and seeing some of the names come on there, a famous motorcycle rider, Phil Smaggi, on there as we take a look.
Is that the Smaggi from the Smaggi brothers, the Trials riders?
Sounds like it
all
to
right.
me.
Hooligan, semifinal number 2, Rich Heverly. Keep your eyes on Terry Vestal. He'll be on the 22 machine. Dave Kilkenny, Chris Wiggins, Jason Clements, Nick Hansen on the 97 bike, Mark Atkins, Dan Lauder, and a few others this week. They went away before we could read them off to you, but here we go.
Okay, you don't read fast enough.
I don't read. I'm from Oklahoma. You know, we talk slower down there. I don't know how I got to be able to talk so fast, but talk slower. I work on it, though, every day.
Do you have a favorite in this semifinal?
I'm going to have to go with Terry Vestal. I mean, he's a vintage motorcycle racer. I get to call him a lot at some of the All-Star races, some vintage nationals, and he's a very good rider, so I give the advantage to him possibly on the 22 bike. He's sneaking a little bit ahead, and pulling the clutch, so he goes way to the back. Vestal's back there at about the 6th spot right now as the light turn at the flag goes up here, so 05 grabs the whole shot.
And of course, that 05, Dave Kilkenny. That's how I say it. How do you say it?
Kilkenny, I don't know. Kilkenny, I don't know. Sounds like we're talking about South Park now. Man,
it's possible. We're getting the first lap in. Keep it clean. We have some.
Whoa, somebody goes wide. Now he's trying to downshift a little bit. And that's the 42 bike. He's all over the place.
Heverly.
Woo. Heverly did good in his heat race. Now he's deep in traffic. Vestal's back there in the 5th spot. 05 starting to pull away early in this one. Kilkenny, I like the way you say it a little bit better. Oh, Vestal's having an issue on the 22 machine. He pulls to the inside of the racetrack on that straightaway. So Vestal, my pick, is out, it looks like.
So we'll re-rack him here as we bring him around through 3 and 4.
Ooh,
of course, it is 05, 05, and then 911 running first and second.
They're getting faster and faster. It looks like they're getting more comfortable out there on the racetrack. The racetrack will start taking some rubber, which makes it where they can go even faster. And again, these guys are just getting used to the racetrack. 05 out in front, 911 back there in the 2 spot. Jason Clements. That's Fast J.
There's a lot of, I wasn't sure what to expect, but there's a lot of aggression, a lot of speed going on here. Of course, later tonight, we'll be seeing the pros. We'll be watching the Harley-Davidson flat track. And of course, a big list of hitters. We'll get into that in a few moments as we're getting into the later half, the second half of semi number 2. 5 will advance here.
911's pushing the edge of the groove right there. He's up there right where the groove, the knocked off surface is, and he's getting right there at the edge of the loose stuff, which lets that back tire come around a little bit on you when they come off the corners. 911's pushing the envelope just a little bit right now. He looks like he reaches down with his foot, possibly maybe kicked his bike into a different gear also. These guys are having a heck of a time on these street legal Harleys.
What I'm watching is, as they're racing, the line is getting wider, which is going to be more exciting for later tonight.
Absolutely. We should possibly see some side-by-side racing. The bottom line is definitely going to be the preferred line, but as these guys push up the racetrack, it opens up the racing surface a little bit wider each time they do that. So there goes the 911 up into the loose stuff once again. If he grabs a handful, the back end will come out and step out just a little bit. If he leaves it on, no problem. If he shuts it off, he'll go for a high side and a wild ride. 05 pulling away. Kilkenny. We'll go
Kilkenny. Which way do you want to go?
We'll go Kilkenny.
I love it. White flag is out, and we are going to find out who those last 5 transferring to the main event is. Kilkenny, Clements,
Heverly back there in the third spot.
In the mix. Wiggins and Hansen.
This guy looks like he knows how to ride some dirt track. He had a nice form going into the corner, had his foot out nice and smooth, and he picks up the win on the 05 machine, just about to get into some lap traffic. So 05, Kilkenny taking the win from Wisconsin. Clements will settle for second. Heverly will get that third spot. As we look at the 3X of Scott Jones, who is at the tail end of the lead lap. There's your winner. Puts his hand up, says, hey, I'm pulling off the racetrack. Don't run me over. There's the 911 who came home in second.
And Heverly bringing it back together after going wide, having some problems, brings it back into that third position.
Absolutely. So the rest of the bikes come down that back straightaway and take them back to the pit area. Some of them for the final time. The top 5 will make it into the final, and we'll have the 10 fastest Harley-Davidson hooligans coming up in just a little bit. See if we can take a look at some of the results here. We know for sure the 05 was the winner, Dave Kilkenny from Wisconsin. We'll take a look at the replays right here. Harley-Davidson Trophy Girl puts the 32nd up, which he walks off the track. There's Vestal sneaking the line just a little bit. Cost him a lot. He had a mechanical a little bit later on. Wouldn't matter.
The 05 looked so put together. And as you said, good, solid race style. Were you looking to...
I was just trying to figure out exactly what bike that is. That's actually an 883 Sportster. I actually used to race one of those back in the day. That 35L on the front number plate, Charlotte Canes. We lost her last year, and he's run that to honor her. Pretty cool move right there by the 05. Wisconsin rider. Charlotte was from Wisconsin as well.
05, bringing the checkers, and we'll get to the results, and we will have our main event locked and loaded. And here come the results. Kilkenny, Clements, Heverly, Wiggins, and Hansen. Your top 5 to advance, unfortunately eliminated. Lauder, Barrow, Atkins, Jones, and Vestal. And Vestal, one of your picks, obviously having
Vestal
a mechanical. So tough break for sure. And we have our 10 locked into that main event. We'll be back with Harley Hoonigans when we return for more fun here at the flat track.
Don't just get to work, arrive. Introducing the new Harley-Davidson Street Rod for less than $5 a day.
Brandon Robinson from Oxford, Pennsylvania on the Harley-Davidson factory flat track racing team. You know, X Games was something I always watched as a kid, and to try and get a medal for Harley-Davidson and for myself would be, you know, a huge dream come true. You know, just to put myself with, you know, guys' names like Dave Mirra, Jamie Bestwick, Shaun White, you know, guys of those caliber, that would just be awesome.
My family was always into racing, and you know, I learned to ride a motorcycle before I rode a bicycle, so it's just part of my life. And now I get to call it my job, so I'm pretty lucky.
Jake Johnson from Coatesville, Pennsylvania. I ride for the Harley-Davidson factory flat track team. You know, there's nothing better than going out and riding with your buddies, you know, and it's not even the riding part of it, you know, it's just kind of hanging out, telling stories and laughing, you know, that's the coolest part for me.
And we're back. Some haircuts going down in the pits.
Is that where you got yours cut?
I don't know. It is not.
I didn't get an invite to that, did you?
I did not, but
Hey.
we're here calling the action with some of the fun happening down in the pits. Of course, this is Harley-Davidson Hooligans, and we are locked into our main event as we've been talking about. We have 10 riders that have gained access through their heats and semis. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to see later tonight.
Well, later tonight, we have all the stars of the Grand National Flat Track Series here with us. We had practice yesterday. We had qualifying earlier today, and fastest through practice, I believe it's Sammy Halbert right now on the 69. He's riding a Harley-Davidson. He looks very strong. Then we got the Indian riders of Brad Baker and Jared Meese, second and third through earlier in practice. Jeffrey Carver, he has the option to ride either a Harley-Davidson or a Kawasaki. He's chosen to ride the Harley-Davidson. Ryan Wells also on a Harley-Davidson, and Briar Bauman, the only rider to beat the Indians on the Grand National circuit this year. He is about the 6th fastest, and he's riding Kawasaki here tonight.
And let's talk about what we're seeing development-wise on the track.
Well, I think the track's going to get faster and faster, especially as the sun is going down. When it gets later in the evening, the moisture comes up through the dirt, so that makes it a little bit faster. I like that it's widening out a little bit. Having these Harley Hooligans go first will actually widen the racetrack just a little bit, so hopefully we can see possibly some side-by-side racing. I believe it's still going to take a very aggressive rider to take the win. It's going to take somebody that gets a good hole shot, and then you have to be consistent, because we get into the main events here in the Harley Hooligans, it's 10 laps, but tonight for the Harley-Davidson flat track racing, it'll be 20 laps, and you cannot make one single mistake unless you're way out in front.
We've seen a little bit of loose conditions for the Hooligans. You think this will transfer over? You think we're going to get a better track? We're going to see more bikes getting loose?
Possibly. If they get up into the looser stuff, they will get sideways, and they'll have to grab a handful to turn the bike with the rear wheel, which will throw more loose stuff up to the outside. So it will get faster as the night continues on. So we'll just have to watch it, and hopefully we'll see some side-by-side racing action, Cam.
Well, for sure, we're going to be side-by-side, arguing,
All
maybe
night.
Agreeing, maybe disagreeing, elbow to elbow.
Yep, we're bumping elbows in the booth here on Facebook
Of course,
Live.
you got Chase, our researcher here
Boom.
with us, giving us all the goodies. And Christy Lee will be bringing us all the reports tonight as we get set for the action later tonight. Welcome back to Minneapolis for the X Games. We are at the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. This is X Games Minneapolis 2017 Harley Hooligan Racing. Cameron Steele and Scotty Dubler here calling the action for you, and we have loaded up the main event in the Harley Hooligan class. Of course, not a medal class, but we're having fun, watching some racing, getting the track tracked in, so to speak, and ready for action later tonight. Let's take a look at who's made this main event.
So the top 10 fastest riders out of the semifinals made it to the main event. Looks like Kilkenny had the fastest semifinals, so Kilkenny, we'll go with that. This will be on the pole. JJ Flaherty, Jason Clements, Jordan Baber, the 57, and he's got 72 on the number plate. Rich Heverly, Benny Carlson, Chris Wiggins, Mikey Hill, Nick Hansen, and Louis Lauder. That is your starting lineup, all on the Harley-Davidson motorcycles, street legal machines from 1986 or newer. They're getting ready to go racing. It's time for our first final of the day.
Now it's time for the bragging rights. Who's going to finish on top? This is where possibly the elbows come up you were talking about earlier. The start is so important.
You got to be ready to go. Watch the green flag. He'll be on our left side of the screen. The light goes green. The clutches come out. You got to get a good start. Dive deep into turn one, but don't go overshoot into corner. Watch the white leathers on the outside.
Woo!
He's been very aggressive off the start this time. And
J.J. Flaherty to the lead.
Keeps it on the bottom of the racetrack, too. So Flaherty, a nice move. I thought he was going to overshoot the corner, but he did a good job keeping it right on the bottom. 9-11 up to second already. That's chasing Fast J. Clements in the 2 spot. Here they come through 3 and 4. Lap 1 going in the books. It's a 10-lap shootout here in the Harley Hooligans. Here comes the 197 up to second. Louis Lauder on the move.
We're taking a look. 101, 197, and come around the outside. The 911 also down at the bottom. The 05. We've seen a lot of fast racing and aggressive racing from that 05 of Dave Kilkenny.
Kilkenny coming up through the pack. He's actually trying the bottom of the racetrack on that 05 machine. And if I remember right, that's Charlotte Keynes' amateur number, so that's why he's running that. So he's up to 30. He's looking for some more. He's very aggressive right now, trying a really low line that nobody's tried so far. Again, there's more moisture down there because they haven't been running on that lap after lap.
And watching for action there, second place. Look at the battle. The 05, once again, looking at different spots on the racetrack. A bit of a wiggle there.
Looks like he's kind of being hung up just a little bit by the 97 or the 197 on Lauder. Now he's going to try the inside. Here he comes. Nice. He used the moisture down there, got the traction to the rear wheel, and made the pass. Now, can he catch up to the leader?
Right now, that 101, a lot of people have been calling online for J.J. Flaherty from Wisconsin, but we have a gaggle of riders there. Dave 4 through 6.
Baber takes over the 4th spot on the number 50 or 72 bike. It confuses me because he got 72 on his back. He's 57 on the front. So Baber, he's coming through the pack. He's kind of stuck in some traffic. He's back to the 5th spot. Second place rider slips a little bit wide down here in 3 and 4. That's going to cost him some time. Halfway flags are already in the air. Red flag's out. I just saw a red flag. That's going to be our first red flag of the night. That means somebody's down, possibly right there on the racing surface. We haven't seen it on our camera view yet here, Cam, but I saw the red flag coming out. There's a rider injured on the back straightaway, so they'll check him out. That is one of the XR 1200 machines. Got him down on the back straightaway, so they'll get a look at him, but looks like he went a long ways further than the motorcycle did.
Yeah, always very tough to see anybody crash, and of course medical will be directly involved, and we will bring all the bikes off the track.
We were just at the halfway flag as they get the medical attention headed over there. It looks like some of the other competitors are headed over there to check him out. I know some of these guys rode over here together from the Wisconsin area, and then a bunch of them rode together all the way from California to make it here for X Games here in the Harley Hooligan class. Again, it's one of the XR 1200s that went down. I know Benny Carlson just went over there to check on his compadre. Not sure which bike is down just yet, but hopefully he'll be getting up and being all right. So they're trying to get that machine off of the racetrack. These things, you know, really heavy when you go down, but you don't ever want to go down on a straightaway because that's where you're up to full speed. So something must happen. Might have got sideways and went for a huckabuck. You never know. We didn't get to see it on our camera view, but hopefully he'll be up and all right here in just a little bit.
As we take a look at the fans, everybody pensively waiting for information. We'll try to get you whatever we can when we can.
Big crowd, Cam. Look, I like it.
Great crowd on hand. We still have a bit of time before we get to the Harley-Davidson flat track a little bit later on, and you'll be able to watch that live as well on ESPN.
Yeah, that's gonna be exciting.
And of course, an overview here just outside the Mall of America in one of the parking areas. You can see a green pasture in the back. We're waiting for information on the rider and our thoughts with that rider, and just everybody nice, calm, and the medical team is there.
They were there quickly too, and that's good to see. Make sure that down rider gets checked out. And back to the Mall of America, Cam. This place has been in existence for 25 years. They opened the Mall of America back in 1992. 520 stores, 40 million annual visitors come to the Mall of America. That is incredible. We're just outside there in the parking lot, just right beside the Mall of America.
And all the remaining riders in the final back to the starting area. And we condensed it down. We started with 40 open spots. That translated into 4 heats. We cut it down to 20 into the semifinals, 2 semis of 10, which then was cut down once again, top 5 qualifying each round, and that built our main event here.
Some got the old style Harley-Davidson factory paint jobs on them that we'll see. The factory Harley race team will come out a little bit later on. The 2 of Kenny Coolbeth, the 5 of Jake Johnson, and the 44 Brandon Robinson. So some of their paint jobs look just like some of these bikes that are out here right now.
And it is just amazing to see those new Harley-Davidson bikes and the technology, everything they're working on there, and then to watch them make adjustments to their setup during the practice rounds that we were able to watch, and to see the changes, how they come about. Now, the other thing is, they're obviously, every type of racing, the surface is changing, but this surface really changes quite a bit throughout the day or the event, so you're kind of always chasing a setup.
Absolutely. You got to watch the track, and the hardest thing for these competitors, if we don't race on a track this small on the circuit all year long, so it's like, how do you start with your gearing? The big thing we noticed yesterday, Cam, is they would go out there for a quick practice session, come right in, take that rear wheel off, change sprockets, go right back out. We also saw people changing the springs in the forks because it's a little bit rough on the front straightaway. There's some up and down bumps. So they're trying to either, some riders chose to slow that down, slow their suspension down. We saw some riders try to speed it up so they'd stay over the top of them like you would do a whoop-de-doo like when you're racing motocross. So, it's all on rider preference and how they think they can get around the racetrack the fastest. And we didn't get to see much of the practice for the hooligans, but they've got this thing figured out pretty good. They're actually charging these corners a lot harder than I thought they would be.
There's definitely a lot of aggression. I know this is a fun event for everybody, and we are waiting for more information on how the restart will take place. And we'll get that to you as we can.
We do know it'll be a 4-lap shootout to wrap this one up. We'll have 4 laps left here in this one. Several different teams have joined us here. This one, the Suicide Machine Company, based in Long Beach, the Gordado brothers, but both of them haven't even made the main event, so they're done for the day, but they came a long ways just to race up here at the X Games. There's some of these guys trying to shake some nerves off. That's some of the Speed Merchant team. The team consists of Chris Wiggins, Fonz Vasquez, and Fast J. Clements. Mark Felton, the co-owner, the Speed Merchant, Brandon Holstein, can be seen attending select events throughout the year based in Southern California. So another team made it all the way from California, and then a lot of these riders came over all the way from Wisconsin. And there's some riders, a couple riders from Minnesota and Iowa. Baber from Iowa is a good rider. I get to watch him on a lot of the amateur races, and he's chosen to run a lot of the vintage stuff, and he's out here having some fun here in this Harley-Davidson hooligan class. He's on that blue Harley-Davidson, the third one from our inside.
How much work is it? I mean, fatigue definitely comes into it.
For sure. Especially on flat track, you wouldn't think that it'd be very hard physically, but these guys are hanging on these big, heavy machines. They have to weigh about 350 pounds. So you're hanging on to them lap after lap, going through these bumps, sliding into the corners, getting on the throttle. You want to typically slide to the back, get your rear end over the seat to get traction, but it seems like some of these riders are just more comfortable staying in one spot on these bikes. Probably a little bit later on when we get into the Harley-Davidson flat track, you'll see more body English with the pros. They've been doing, for most of their lives, most of them, and they'll slide on the motorcycle. And so fitness is very important. I mean, you wouldn't think so, but especially more so probably in this class with these big, heavy motorcycles.
100%. We're getting a good look at the fans here, and there has been a solid stream of people coming in. And don't forget, the Harley-Davidson flat track's still over an hour away, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm expecting huge crowds here.
Yeah, I think the stands are going to be completely full. Where we walked through the pit area, Cam, we actually came in and went around the outside, around turns 1 and 2, and made our way into the pit area. So I believe that's where the rest of the spectators are going to have to stand if they get here late.
Well, I'll tell you, it is thunderous alongside the track, to say the very least. And I'm hearing that we are going to be going racing here momentarily. Officials talking to the riders, and of course there's multiple ways that they could restart, and they were sitting there on the line just waiting patiently for the restart. Now, under red flag conditions, depends on what you're racing and what organization, you would get a staggered restart in a line, or you could get a rolling in same position restart.
Typically on flat track, we have what they call a staggered restart, and that's what they're going to do. It looks like right now the 101 has to start on the inside. The second rider will go just behind his motorcycle and then 3 steps to the other direction. And that's so if the rider in front, Cam, doesn't get going, the rider right behind him doesn't run over him, and it starts a chain reaction. So that's the reason for the staggered restart. They'll go all the way to the outside, and if we have enough riders, they'll go right back towards the inside. So tough break for Nick Hansen. That was the rider that did go down the back straightaway. We hope he'll be up and okay. We're going to restart him with the 101 out in front. I think he's got a pretty good shot at winning. He's been dominant. Yeah,
he really has. And we'll give it to the Kilkenny. He has looked very solid as well. But the problem is Flaherty has control of the bottom of the track. he has that front position. So as long as he gets a good restart, which is always a possibility, because now they're starting in a section of the track where
they've never started before.
Right, and there hasn't been any track laid down. It's a little bit more moist down there as they're in the middle of that front straight.
Yep, absolutely. So some of these guys out here near the outside at the back, they're going to be right on the racing surface, which is already packed in, so they might have the advantage, even though they're way at the back. Watch some of these riders deep in the field if they can get a good start. Baber's right there in the 4 spot. The 101 at the point. Here they come. The bikes are going into gear. The lenses are down. A lot of riders have chosen to run the motocross-style helmets with the motocross goggles. They're getting ready to start this one. It'll be a 4-lap shootout for the bragging rights of the first event out here at Harley-Davidson Flat Track.
And the starter checking to make sure everybody's ready. Green to go. And now watch the traction on the outside.
911 had a pretty good shot, but Baber drifted up the racetrack to the right a little bit. Nice move by Baber to take that 4 spot away. And he'll set his sights on the leader. Here comes the 05 machine in the 197.
Flaherty able to control. Kilkenny able to move back into that second position or hold tight, but it looks like we have a solid battle on hand here. Look, go around the outside. The 911, the 911 all the way up against the outside.
It looked like we're going to have them 3 wide for just a second coming off of turn 4. Baber in the 3rd spot had some company coming around the outside. The 911's using all the real estate, goes up into the high line. It's still the 101 out in front.
Just a few laps remaining as we come around to the stripe. And of course, Flaherty still in that number 1 position.
Flaherty's got some company. Here comes the 05
for sure. We know that 05 likes that bottom line, not afraid to challenge in unfamiliar territory, so to speak, using an unpopular line, but Flaherty hogging up the good line.
And Baber is taking over the 3rd spot. He can now see the leaders. Can he have enough time to track them down? I don't think so, because there's the white flag cam. 1 more lap to go.
It's time to go. Last lap of racing.
Go.
And we'll see if Flaherty can hold this together. Kilkenny right there. Baber in 3rd. That is your running order as they head down the back straight into 3. Look at that. Sliding, set it up, throwing it down. The 05 wants it, but it's not to be. It looks like it's going to be Flaherty for the win.
Nice.
At the Harley-Davidson Hooligan. Woo. And he is excited. Great run. Your top 3.
Yeah, look at him.
Very competitive.
I think that tail section would be a little bit of a distraction. If I was behind him, I'd try not to be watching that. Look at that high-fiving. The 05 seems like he's just as happy as the 101 for getting second place out here tonight. Baber comes home in the 3rd spot, the number 72 machine. That's all we got so far. We'll see the official rundown in just a little bit. Again, Flaherty, the 101, all the way from Waukesha, Wisconsin, takes home the win. 05, also Wisconsin rider, it's Kilkenny. 05 comes home in 2nd, and Jordan Baber from Iowa will settle for that 3rd spot here tonight.
A good look at your top 3, your winner for the Harley Hooligan. And they're looking for a little bit of celebratory time here. And the fans cheering them on. Some exciting racing. I'm really looking forward to the Harley-Davidson Flat Track tonight live on ESPN.
These guys just amateurs. Wait until we get to the professionals a little bit later on as they pull up down there near the starting line. Man, look, they're still all happy. Look at them.
Your top 3, we saw the 3rd member of our broadcast team, Christy Lee, getting set to work on some interviews. And Christy, there's some excitement down there.
JJ Flaherty, absolutely outstanding racing out there. What a cool opportunity for you. You said that you're actually a professional BMX rider, not a professional racer. What a cool chance to come out here and race at X Games. Congrats.
Thank you so much. I definitely couldn't do it without all my people backing me. Like Ukes Harley, Fuel Cafe, WFO Online, man, Blue Moon Customs. I don't know. It's crazy. Division BMX, I got some friends actually competing, and I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm here. And to share a podium with this guy right here, my buddy Dave.
So obviously you have a ton of friends that you're not only competing with, but hanging out here for this event as well.
Yeah, it's been crazy. I don't know. I'm lost of words right now.
JJ Flaherty, that's your winner, guys. Back to you in the booth.
Thanks, Christy. What a great race. Let's take a look at the replays. Starting out, nice hole shot. I mean, there was some really aggressive work going on trying to get that first spot, but Flaherty was able to control early.
You can see him sliding into the corners, guys. Left foot out there with that steel shoe, that tail section bouncing around a little bit. His left foot out there keeping it He wants to know the feel, just how far he can lay it over into the corners. You can see him just about dragging. He is dragging the foot peg right there. That 101, a good shot. There's the 0.5 as they come to the checkered flag, or that was actually coming to the caution flag a little bit earlier. Here's a look at the restart, the staggered restart. The 911 had a pretty good jump from the outside. Baber drifted up the racetrack. He got to the racing surface as fast as he could. It was just a little bit too late as he got hung up there in the 4 spot. The 101 was very aggressive all night. He had great starts, and he kept his composure, kept it on the bottom of the racetrack. The 0.5, though, was charging hard. Kilkenny, come on, but just a little bit short, Cam. Look at that, racing to the finish line.
It was great racing through every one of the heats. Still don't have an update on the injured rider, but our thoughts definitely with him. And right now, the track is getting a little bit of water. Going to get some maintenance a little bit later on. We'll be going with the Harley-Davidson flat track, but let's take a look again at the final results.
Flaherty, again, probably the most aggressive rider we saw all night long, taking the win with the 101. J.J. Flaherty, your winner. Second, Kilkenny on the 0.5. Jordan Baber, the Iowa rider, comes home in third. That'd be a bronze medal if they were getting medals, so he still's got some bragging rights to go home to his friends too. Louder will settle for 4th. Heverly will be 5th. Hill is 6th. Jason Clement 7th. Chris Wiggins 8th. Benny Carlson, and again, the rider that went down was Nick Hansen. We hope he's all right. Man, good racing so far. And that was just the warm-up.
Right, the warm-up. Later on, live on ESPN, the Harley-Davidson flat track. The heroes of the sport will be here, and I'll tell you, Harley hooligans did not disappoint one bit.
Whoa, that was one of the get-ups we saw earlier. Some of the riders had to make some adjustments, but we had great racing, Cam.
For Christy Lee and Scotty Dubler, I'm Cameron Steele saying adios from the Harley-Davidson Facebook Live. We had a great time here with you at Harley Hooligans. Congratulations to all of our podium.